Hello everyone, welcome to StraightA. Dawson here, back with another video here today. And today we are covering the New York Jets in their 2024-2025 NFL season. I hope you guys are ready for a throw ride. I'm excited for this season for the New York Jets because there's so much potential. Thought there was a lot of potential last year, but you know what? I'm kind of buying into the hype, guys. But before we get started, please like down below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and comment any suggestions for future videos below. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. So, of course, before we get started, to the official predictions, stats, lines, all that good stuff, let's look at the New York Jets lineup. Aaron Rodgers at the helm, nobody else, no other question. It's going to be Aaron Rodgers. I'm putting it out in the world. He's going to be there for the whole season. He's going to come back and be as strong as ever. I'm excited to see what he can do. I don't think he'll get 5,000 plus yards, but I also don't think he'll get 3,000 less. Or less than 3,000. I think this man's going to do very, very well, and I think there's no other option for the Jets but to do well this season, so I'm predicting that happens. I'm also predicting a fucking awesome season for Breece Hall, because I love Breece Hall. I think he's been in a really struggling offense of the Jets, where he hasn't got many opportunities on the ground. He's a great pass catcher, but I think he's even excellent a runner. I'm just very excited to see him. Garrett Wilson, I'm buying into the hype. I'm officially doing it. I'm not going to stake my fantasy football team on it yet, but Garrett Wilson, along with Mike Williams, Xavier Gibson, and Allen Lazard, I'm really considering the four there, are just awesome. Are an awesome group. Xavier Gibson, I have to see a little bit more, kind of know what he can do, but really he hasn't done anything that much in the past. Allen Lazard, I think, could be a very good 3 or 4 if he has to step up. Otherwise, Mike Williams and Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson, so much potential. He's done really well. He got over 1,000 yards last year without really a solid quarterback and like 3,000 total yards thrown. So this man took about a third of the yards on the team. And with Aaron Rodgers, who knows what the fuck he can do? I made a prediction. I'm kind of curious what y'all think, but we'll see. Mike Williams, I'm lowering down my hype for Mike Williams though. I think he's gonna be solid. I think he's injury prone. I think he'll get good amount of yards. I don't think he'll do anything spectacular. I hope he does. Let that be clear. I just don't see it happening. Otherwise, the O-line, I kind of looked at some things, looked at some of their offseason stuff. It doesn't look like it's really too much different, but it looks like at least his tackles are really good. I like Tyron Smith. I like Morgan Moses as long as he's going to stay healthy, that kind of good deal. By the way, Mike Williams will be healthy for the season, so I'm not really worried about his injury. As for the defense, this is one of the greatest defensive lines in the NFL. Not really as much in the sack category, but they're very talented when it comes to stopping rushing yards and kind of putting pressure on the quarterback. It's just that they're very good at closing the hole, the circle, whatever, in on the quarterback. So very, very clever here. Very underrated. I shouldn't say underrated secondary because they have Sauce Gardner. Sauce Gardner is not just the only tool in the shed though. Chuck Clark, Tony Adams, DJ Reed, all very capable of doing their own kind of thing in this defense. So I'm very excited to see what they're capable of doing and how well the season can go. Because they got 18 interceptions last year, and that's going to be really, really good. I expect at least one of the other guys besides Sauce Gardner to really pick off a lot of the quarterbacks. So I think it's just going to kind of snowball into a really good season for him. Looking at the previous season, it's not too much really you can look at here. Again, Breece Hall was almost 1,000 yards, but not quite, in a struggling offense, which really didn't win many games. Garrett Wilson with a quarterback totaling of 3,373 yards. He took about a third of that. Fucking crazy. And I just accidentally clicked on Garrett Wilson. We don't need to do that. The defense, very good, like 48 sacks. Interceptions, 18. It's been pretty consistent in the last few seasons as well. Sacks allowed, 64. It's not the greatest offensive line. I don't predict they'll be terrible, but I could definitely see a higher number than we probably would wish for Aaron Rodgers. So that's kind of the idea I have here with that team. Otherwise, I'm just going to jump right into the stats on this one. Getting right into things, Aaron Rodgers throwing for 4,000 plus. I think that he's going to have a very, very, very good chance of winning Comeback Player of the Year. I think he'll throw for about 4,200. I think it's going to be pretty easy. 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. I think he's going to not miss a beat. This isn't one of his best seasons statistically, but it is not one of his worst. So I just think he'll throw for lower on the 4,000 scale, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Just because with this team, I am nervous with the passing touchdowns just because of the catchers. But Breece Hall is very capable of doing it. Garrett Wilson's very capable. Mike Williams, when he's in those games, he'll do very well. Tyler Conklin, at least is at least capable of doing it. So I think he'll be fine. Now, a little bit harder to take is that coming off his injury, he'll actually rush for over 50 yards. I think he could easily do that. I think he has rushed for less than that once. That was in a recent season, I believe. So, in a full season, I should say. He won't get a rushing touchdown, but he'll rush for like 55 yards is my prediction. Breece Hall, I am expecting to go off. I think there's only two running backs that are usually allotted about 1,250 plus yards. Obviously, some seasons there's more, some seasons there's less, but 2 is about the average. 1,250 yards plus. Breece Hall is getting that distinguishment, and I don't think he'll get necessarily a ton of rushing touchdowns. I think 11 is quite a bit, all things considering, because he's got 6 last year. I think he's going to almost double that. The reason I'm not going higher, because I think he's going to do really well, is because I think this offense is going to be very reliant on him in the pass game. So he's going to be actually catching some of these balls a lot more and possibly running to the end zone with that. Now, so I think his total touchdowns, it could be like 16. So we'll see. Honestly, I could see a little bit less than rushing touchdowns and kind of mix and mingle the rushing and the receiving. So this could realistically be about 9, but I couldn't see much less than 9 from him. So we'll say 9 to 11, but 11 is my guess. I think he's going to have an awesome season. Then we have the receivers. I put Garrett Wilson at 1,100 to 1,200 yards. So with how I've done my predictions thus far, and I kind of pigeonhole myself a little bit, I either go with this statistic for him, or like 1,300, 1,400 yards. I'd feel much more comfortable at 1,200. But I think I realistically see him in the 1,150 range. I know he caught like 100 less yards last season, so like 1,050 or something like that. But man, I just don't see. I don't see him as the player that can go for 1,300 yards. There's very few wide receivers that do that, and I don't think Garrett Wilson is that guy. Even though he did very well, I just don't see him being that guy. 10 receiving touchdowns, more than he did last year, because there's like no receiving touchdowns going around last year. Mike Williams. I think the touchdowns are a little bit high, but 800, 900 yards I think is very doable for Mike Williams. Very capable player. Like him. Move on. Tyler Conklin, 400 yards, 2 receiving touchdowns, and be done with it. I'm very excited to see this offense, and they're going to do so awesome. I'm not going to lie. But Garrett Wilson will be like 1,180 is my guess. He's still very capable, and I'm very curious what he does with Rodgers. Sacks, they'll allow about 49 sacks. I'll give him a pretty good decrease, but they'll be on the higher end of 40 to 50. 45 to 54 sacks on the defensive line. I think they're going to do very well. This is about what they've been averaging for the last few years. I'm not going to really question it. Their defense has been doing pretty well. 2024 interceptions. So they're going to go from 18 to about 21 as my prediction, because I think this secondary is awesome. Sauce Gardner, I think, is going to have an excellent season. He'll probably do better in coverage, but DJ Reed, some of the other secondary linemen, some of the other secondary will, I think, just absolutely ball out. I think the secondary will put a lot of pressure on a lot of people, and I think they'll get about 21 interceptions. Going to their schedule. And man, people are not going to like me unless you're a New York Jet. I'm not going to lie to you. I think they're going to go 4-2 in the division. I think it's very safe, but I think they realistically could go 5-1, giving them 4-2. Just because, again, divisional games are hard. 4-2. Texans, probably a loss. Colts, probably a win. Probably go 2-1 in these next 3 games. All are kind of middle average teams that I think you can more than likely beat, but I'm going to be safe. So 7-4 at home, not too bad. On the road, though, I see maybe 1 or 2 L's. All right, so it's 11 or 12 wins. I kind of squeaked out one here. I think they could beat the Texans. I think they go 5-1 in their division. I'm squeaking them to the 12-5 spot. I'm giving them 12 wins and 5 losses. And I'm not unnecessarily unconfident that they can get 13-4. This team is really fucking good. The O-line's what makes me a little bit nervous, not giving Aaron Rodgers enough time on the ball. But this offense is just really evenly paced. It's got a good receiver. 2 good receivers today, a great running back, a reliable O-line in terms of it's not going to probably be too horrible against them, and a stupendous defense, a defense that could carry them if necessary. I just think that this is a recipe that kind of have, like, there's no team that really wins from being the best throughout the whole season. Like, the Chiefs were not the best throughout the whole season last year. They had a lot of trouble marks. Were not the best at a lot of things last year. Even the Chiefs the year before that, sure, they were a pretty tanky team, and they did pretty damn good, but they had a lot of flaws. I think the Jets kind of fit that mold almost perfectly. They look like a team that is very good, but with a lot of flaws. It doesn't look like they're going to be exploding teams out of the water. It looks like they'll have a lot of close games, a lot of back and forth, and a very just balanced offense and defense. I just don't see much remarkable about them, but that's almost a sneaky way of saying these Jets are actually going to be a very scary team in the postseason. I think they'll get there for sure. Their division does make me a little bit nervous because the Dolphins can be good, and the Bills, I don't know where they kind of land, but I think they're going to be a better team, or at least a good team. Sorry, I shouldn't say a better team as in the league. I think the Jets go 12-5, and it's going to be kind of scary. Could they go for that number 1 seed? Who knows? Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you on the next one.